What if the universe isn't solid or empty, but a projection, a hologram? And what if that hologram isn't built from matter as we know it, but from plasma, a mysterious form of ionized gas resembling a fiery liquid? Astrophysicists say 99.9% of the universe is plasma, yet most of us never think about it like that. Plasma could be the missing key in our understanding of not only how reality works, but how we evolve human consciousness on this planet. Last year I had a profound experience I can only describe as cosmic bliss after agreeing to a remote session with a plasma device located 3,000 miles away. At the time, I hardly knew what plasma was, but I was left determined to find answers for how this spooky action at a distance had occurred. So when I heard that the man who built these devices lived in my home country of Canada, I felt I needed to seek him out. After an introduction via a mutual friend, the man agreed to a meeting. I was thrilled, so I drove 500 kilometers across mountain highways to an undisclosed spot in the middle of British Columbia. I was told to keep the location of his lab secret, and you're about to find out why.
We're about to enter into the belly of the beast, the mad science lab, and we're going to get a demo of what this technology is about. I'm about to meet the maker and owner of Theraphi, and we're going to have a great chat with him.
As the door was answered, I knew this was my man. He just had the look of an alchemist that plays with electricity. Paul graciously took me on a tour of the facility, which included a few high-frequency parlor tricks, a 5 million volt Tesla coil, an expert extraction of medicinal mushrooms, the proverbial transmutation of lead into gold, and most importantly, his vintage synth collection. Before we got too deep into a conversation, he told me to kick off my shoes and hop on the Theraphi for a quick plasma session. And this was me afterwards. And right now I feel very relaxed. I feel like I've just been meditating in nature for a week straight. That's like the level of awesomeness going in my body. I feel like anything I want to do right now, I can just snap my fingers and there it is. And this session was very much about visioning, about what I want to create, about what the next steps in my life are going to look like in 6 months. The interesting thing I notice in the plasma field is I can't have any negative thoughts or doubt. I can only envision the things that I want to bring in, and they're right there in front of me. It's like they're just sitting there in the holographic field, and I just pluck them out and start to work with those ethers and turn them into form. And this can be literally anything. Of course, it's different for everybody. If somebody has things that they need to heal right now, they'll be able to heal it. If people are creating big visions and manifesting things, we'll get things we need for that to happen.
But the thing about Theraphi is it's not specific to any one thing, because what it's doing is a balancing act with the body. It's putting a coherent field around the body to restore order. So any disorder goes backwards in time. That's when we talk about, that's a little more complicated, but it's a time reversal process that happens in this particular field. But it creates a coherent field around the body that the body falls into natural resonance with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when you're, listening to music and you're tapping your toe, it does that. So all kinds of different people with different conditions, inflammation and soft tissue damage, broken bones.
I ran it remotely for about 30 people, or I should say my friend in LA ran it remotely, and I was sort of just telling people about it and sharing it. Yeah. And some of the feedback we got was pretty outstanding. So first of all, my friend in LA that was running it, who she was basically able to see, based on the variations in the plasma during a remote session. So someone could be in the Netherlands. Yes. She's running it with a photo of the person in LA. Yeah. And she could see in the plasma field what's happening in their body. And she's quite intuitive. She'd make comments and tell them afterwards and go, that's exactly what I was experiencing. And sometimes, the range of things was, sometimes there were emotional issues that were coming up. They were like deeply stored emotional trauma or childhood issues were actually resolving themselves in that field, which was very interesting because you're mostly talking about treating physical ailments, but we were actually noticing psychosomatic issues were being treated as well.
What you're seeing now are some of the responses I received after remote Theraphi sessions. People were receiving massive downloads about their lives, many manifestations were taking place, and of course, very deep clearings and healings were occurring. It seemed that there was one common thread. that the Theraphi always knew exactly what to give a person based on their own unique needs.
If you needed to cry, you cry. If you needed to laugh, you laugh. So it works on the emotional level to clear those blockages and those things, the clouds that are in your field around you. And that can be old trauma from many different things. And that's a big part of physical ailments. Is a lot of physical manifestation is the end of the line in disease. It starts on higher planes.
Yeah. Since coming across Michael Talbot's quintessential book, The Holographic Universe, I became fascinated about this base layer of reality, the one that controls everything else. So this book drew heavily from the work of physicist David Bohm. Bohm believed reality works like a hologram. What we see, people, places, galaxies, is just the surface projection. Beneath it lies a hidden layer of reality where everything is connected, everything is one. In a hologram, every fragment contains the whole picture. Bohm suggested the universe works the exact same way. Every part of reality holds the blueprint of the entire cosmos. In other words, the universe might not just look holographic, but it is holographic. Therefore, this led me to a burning question that I had to ask Paul.
Is there a correlation between, the hologram or the template and plasma?
Yeah, I like that model. And what we're starting to realize is that we can explain a whole lot of things with plasma, including, mystical things that, like the Akashic Records.
Yes.
They've been talked about for years, that everything is just stored in the Akasha, everything that ever happened. And if you think about light and the way we move, like our Earth is spinning around the sun, hundreds of thousands of miles an hour, the sun is spinning around the galaxy. So really, we're whipping through space at infinite speeds. We don't even know.
Have you seen that spiraling?
Yeah, because really we're moving in a spiral. So if you think about every photon that ever hits anything and leaves its imprint traced in time in space, then it makes sense to have that Akashic record is stored, that light. And how does it get stored? It gets stored in plasma fields.
Now, if this conversation isn't already strange enough, I have to give you a warning. It's about to get a lot stranger.
That too. Like, I'd have people call me up and say, oh yeah, I was in a Theraphi session and it started running its diagnostics. And I was like, oh really? What happened? And it said, well, first it was scanning my body, and that there is no diagnostic features built into the Theraphi.
I've experienced this though.
Yeah, I know. This is a common story. They say, and I felt it go to my shoulder, and I remembered, oh yeah, that was an old injury in my shoulder, and then it went to the knee that I busted up in a football accident, and so I was like, interesting. And then other stories that get even farther out than that, people started experiencing, reported experiencing different beings coming to them. They said, I was laying on the table, and then all these sort of entities came to me. They were dressed in white lab coats, and they started moving their hands around me and doing laying on hands and giving energy and things like this. So there's a connection, and we call it, I like to call it like a consciously assisted technology. There's a conscious connection, and the consciousness is connected through the plasma. And then, of course, the plasma being 99.999% of the universe, that means you have a sort of a portal through the Theraphi to connect with everything in the universe. And all life, all matter, everything has come from plasma, and it will end with plasma.
But now we're reaching an age in history where there's more and more technology like plasma, where we can augment that, we can help that, and we can help people too that might not have 50 years to go and do yogic practices to actually, get there or get a taste of it so they know the direction that they're heading.
And that's the process of alchemy itself. It's like observing nature and emulating nature and exalting or bringing, making the nature's natural processes to bring them up to make it more manifest quicker, basically. And that's alchemy. If anything, the health benefits from Theraphi are sort of a side effect. Ultimately, in my mind, it was about the conscious evolution of the planet and everybody get exposed. And I never talked about any of these things in the beginning, because there's a lot more to Theraphi than, just the healing aspects of it.
Amazing. All right, well, I'm really excited now. I'd love to see how this thing is built, and maybe let's do a demo at some point too.
Okay, sounds great.
What he showed me next was truly impressive. This here was used in surgery over 100 years ago based on Tesla's technology, where a scalpel could make a perfect incision and leave no mark. They could use this scalpel then to also reduce tumors. This here might look like a basic form of circuitry. However, it was capable of surgery much more elegant and precise than the tools that we use today.
What this was used for, interestingly enough, was for medical doctors and surgery. So a lot of this electrotherapy, you could do things like heating tissue. And so in the case of a cancer tumor or something like that, they would put plates on either side of wherever the tumor was, and they would do an internal heating to the tissue that would shrink the tumor. Of course, these all got banned and destroyed throughout the years as the medical model moved away. At the time, the American Medical Association, or what became that, made a transition, and the pharmaceutical companies started coming out after World War I, and they stopped making weapons, chemical warfare weapons, and they started making pharmaceuticals. And they suppressed all this kind of technology. So this is, if you can find one of the original machines, they're very rare and expensive if you can even find one. What I do is study what were they doing with this, and they had a lot of medical uses for electricity back in those days. It's written in all the old books.
So they used Tesla's form of electricity,
yes,
to shrink tumors,
yes,
and to perform surgery,
right,
in a very efficient and effective way.
Yeah, and basically this was also used for surgery. Yeah, you would connect a scalpel up to one of these electrodes, basically, and then it would cauterize the tissue and stop the bleeding and allow the tissue to heal back together in a better way.
And we opted for the worse option, I guess.
Yeah. So what happened in history was the therapeutic aspects of electricity got sidelined and suppressed, and the electricity in the modern medical thing is only used for diagnostics. So we've got electrocardiograms, electroencephalograms, MRIs, CAT scans, all those kind of things. We use electricity for diagnostic purposes, but never for treating. Tesla coil is what these are. And this is a large one that I call Junior. And he puts out about 5 million volts.
5 million
5
volts?
million volts. And he'll shoot an arc about 15, 20 feet through the air.
And you've seen this happen?
Oh yeah.
You make this happen?
I've made it happen. And to boot, I added on circuitry that can modulate it at specific wavelengths. So essentially, I can plug a keyboard into it and play it like a keyboard or a guitar,
and the electrical charges are
really wild. And then it pulse width modulates to the notes that you're playing, and you can hear the sound of it.
So when do we get the 23rd century concert with the Quantify setup,
yes,
and the guitars plugged into the Tesla coil, plugged into the Marshall?
Exactly. So this is Junior, and he's done and running. But this one in the back here is Big Daddy, and I don't even know. This one runs at about 30 kVA, so like 30,000 watts of power. Big Daddy is going to run at 50. And so I have no idea. I haven't really calculated out the voltages that are going to come off of there, but he's going to be pretty insane.
Okay, Paul, what's behind this door?
Well, this is the secret laboratory within the secret laboratory, really.
Oh my goodness.
This is the wet lab where we do all our alchemical experiments here.
Alchemical experiments are going to happen. It's Tuesday and I've only had one coffee.
You're right. Yeah, so right now we're processing mushroom powder, and we're preparing for the Alchemy of Prague, which we do every year in Prague. And this year the theme is mushrooms. So we're going to go out wildcraft mushrooms and process them into alchemical.
You're talking like cordyceps and functional mushrooms. Cool.
Yeah, so functional mushrooms, right now we got cordyceps in the distiller here.
Okay, so this looks impressive, but what exactly is happening alchemically with these cordyceps?
So this is an extraction method that's using a steam distillation. So if you were to make essential oils from plants, in alchemy, the essential oils are the sulfur of the plants. So we're essentially distilling the sulfur from the cordyceps here. So boiling water in the still pot is coming up through the cordyceps, and the vapor, the very fine, all the volatile components come up and then get condensed in this condenser. They travel around and around and around the spiral, and they drip out onto the meniscus of the receiver here. So you can see that very fine layer of, it's a whitish, it's kind of waxy. These are sort of alcohol waxes that come from the mushroom that we find. And so what we're doing here is essentially extracting the soul of the mushroom. Then we will take the body of the mushroom or the plant, and we burn it down to ashes, and from that ash we get a mineral matrix that becomes a crystal. We dry it into crystals, and that's the salt of the plant. So you taste it's very alkaline, it's salty, and the other component in the three, sulfur, salt, and mercury of alchemy, is the spirit. And so the spirit of the plant is when you ferment things. And so the alcohol houses the spirit of the plant. That's why we call alcohol spirits. So in this alchemical process, it's called the spagyric process. And we separate the sulfur, salt, and the mercury, the soul, the body, and the spirit of the particular plant, or in this case mushroom we're working with. And then we recombine them back together into a very powerful medicine.
So it's like making an elixir that maximizes the potential benefits of, in this case, cordyceps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
And that elixir, the word actually comes from Arabic, which means a fine powder. So although we call liquid things elixirs these days, the real original definition was a powder that they would add into things. And when you add the salts or the body of the plant back into the medicine in the end, it becomes a liquid crystal. Mm-hmm. So those salts form a crystalline structure within the matrix of the spagyric tincture that you're making. And it's really interesting because I've had them sitting for a long time on a shelf, and you can see a crystal lattice within the bottle. And one time I went to pick one up and I was like, oh wow, look at that. And just as I got close to it, it blinked and disappeared just before I grabbed onto the bottle. Wow. So all kinds of interesting phenomena happen.
Literally zipping out of this universe and into another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
In the alchemy, you kind of get your sea legs in the plant kingdom, and you make 7 basic spagyrics, which correspond to the 7 original planets. And that fortifies your body to be able to move into the mineral kingdom. And when we work in the mineral kingdom, we work with all kinds of elements from the earth that are basically metals and several other things. So some of the things we have in here is pure sodium metal. This one has been sitting for several years, so it gets rather oxidized, and we just ended up cleaning this one up. It's really nice now and shiny. But that's pure sodium. Basically, if you took it out of there and exposed it to hydrogen, like if you breathed on it, it would burst into a powerful ignition and burn up. So yeah, that's why we do all our practices with the plant medicines before we work in the mineral kingdom. This set here is antimony. So even, gold is related to the sun and silver to the moon. And then all the other metals in the 7 metals have so I don't know if you'd be able to see this or not. This is glass, pure glass made from pure antimony, which is like a metal normally. But this is how the church windows were originally made. In the stained glass windows, they were made by alchemists and the Knights Templar and that had a really good understanding of how those things work, and they projected certain frequencies. That's why we can't build a Gothic cathedral today, because all that technology is lost.
This kind of adds to the whole lore of the medieval stonemasons in Solomon's Temple before that.
Oh, exactly.
The origin stories of Freemasonry.
Yes.
When you think about how much complexity, sacred geometry knowledge went into the creation of these. Yeah.
And those were kept as the highest secrets amongst those orders.
Yeah.
And with modern evolution and everything like that, and wars and the evolution of humanity, basically, a lot of that information has gotten lost over the years. So,
or into the wrong hands,
and used for nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
But that's part of the human condition. This is Dr. Bones, the lab manager.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's prepared for the worst.
Are you happy with my PPE? Take that as a no.
Yeah. What I do with all the tinctures and all the alchemical preparations I make, because like I was saying, they're sort of a liquid tincture or a liquid crystal in these tincture formats with the salts inside of them. They're very resonant to frequencies, and they you can take frequencies, and I process a lot of stuff with the Theraphi itself. So a lot of the medicinal products we make here, we actually process with the Theraphi to do a final polishing on it.
Wow.
So this is kind of what I call electro-herbology. And we will be able to integrate frequencies and plant medicines and be able to make a more holistic approach to it. And I think that's where we're going. I think that's where humanity is kind of heading now that we've realized, after everything we've gone through in these last few years and how corruption has happened in every level of every all over, and we're in pure chaos right now, right?
There's no answers.
Yeah,
no solution.
But this is the solution is getting back to nature, understanding nature, and working in harmony with nature.
And exalting nature.
And exalting nature. And that way, when we get back to what the ancients were doing and how the alchemists were, processing their medicines and using it in a holistic way, in harmony with nature, instead of going against nature, then we're going to talk about evolution.
I think it would only make sense if every household has a TV in the living room.
Right.
If they have their alchemical setup in the living room and they make their own elixirs.
And that's when your medicines are the most powerful, is when you make them yourself. So a lot of people will say, and this is part of the alchemy thing too, a lot of people will come and say, oh, can you make me some gold elixir? I want the fountain of youth and all these things that the alchemists wrote about. And I say, well, no, sorry, I won't make it for you. But what I do is I'll teach you how to do it. And because that's part of the alchemical process. It's internal. Like Carl Jung thought alchemy was, it's subconscious and dream states and all this, but not realizing that there was a physical component. But it is both a mental, a spiritual, a physical component. And when you're processing things in the lab, you evolve internally. And it's a part of the alchemical process.
I feel like an apprentice in an initiation. I just took a long trip.
Yeah.
Many hundred kilometers across the mountains to a secret location.
Yes.
I get here, I knock on the door. There's an alchemical laboratory. The only part missing was you didn't hand me a broom and say, sweep the floor for a couple of years.
Yeah, well, we're trying to speed things up a little.
Speed things up. We got phones now.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been such a pleasure, Paul.
Yeah, awesome.
I have never seen anything like this in my life, to be honest. Yeah. And I'm sure the people watching this are going to have many questions. So I would love to know, where can we direct people, especially with regards to if they might be interested in purchasing a Theraphi, or seeing what stuff that you guys have that is commercially available. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we just reformatted the site. It was theraphiofficial.com, but now it's Phitality, Phitality.
Cool.
Based on phi and vitalness. And what it is now is this is a new platform to launch a lot of the things I have on the bench, and there's a lot of exciting stuff to come. So that's going to be the main platform for it.
Great. So if they wanted to, they can get more information about Theraphi there.
Yes.
They could also contact you and potentially order a unit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. And that'll be in the description below if you're watching this YouTube. If you're not, you're just going to have to rewind and listen to Paul talk again. Take care.
Thanks.
This has been amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
And I hope you like this little documentary interview with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Paul Harris, regarding plasma, which is very much an emerging yet innovative form of not just therapy, but the evolution of human consciousness. If you'd like more information on remote sessions, there's remote sessions that are being offered through Theraphi Los Angeles, and maybe at some point I'll have a setup of my own. I'm very inspired to get my own Theraphi after my time with Paul and really diving into this device, especially after the many sessions that I've run, both for myself and for other people. So I hope this was interesting for you, and there's some links in the description below for other freebies and offers and things things that we've got going on here that may or may not involve plasma, but are all linked to the evolution of human consciousness.